Now we're going to go over some of the statute that Congress in 1970 enacted to be proactive and not reactive, to make sure that we can stop pollution before it injures individuals or their property. So what are the major federal statutes that regulates the environmental pollution? Government subsidies was one way to regulate pollution, and that is very interesting because you'll see the difference. And then, of course, another alternative was emission charges, and the other one was discharge permits, and that it has something to do with water. And of course, what is the problem with government subsidies is that there are tax breaks and lower interest loans to install pollution controls devices for the company. And one of the problems with this is that government only pays 80% usually. That means the other 20% the industry or the company has to do it. And of course, a big company might have a little easier time to come up with the other 20% than a small company. But in reality, really, who's paying for that is the taxpayer for the expenses, and no accountability either. So next thing you know, the taxpayers are paying for this thing, and nobody's accountable to the taxpayer about the polluter or the polluter customers or anybody. Nobody's keeping track because government gives them the money to the corporation, and the corporation can use it to get the technology, but there is no accountability. There is nobody that goes over there, over the company to invest what's going on. The second alternative to regulation is emission charges, where the polluter is charged a set fee on every unit of pollutant discharged to reduce the pollutions. The cost of reducing greater than emission fee. So they're saying the greater the fee, the greater the company is going to try to eliminate the emission. The larger the fee goes, the greater to reduce. This is very interesting. Okay, so what's a problem? Monitoring every discharge of pollutant and calculating amount to be assessed for each unit of various pollutant. How much, is one pollutant more dangerous or more toxic than another one? Should we charge a higher? Who's going to be able to keep track of all these things? And again, very expensive for the government to do it. In reality, it is licensing also a continuing round, since business will pay the charges and continue to pollute. And this is really, even if their fee is $25,000, comparing the profit and comparing them the manufacturing and keeping employers working, it's easier for the company to pay and continue and take the risk. So it doesn't really encourage you to stop pollution. The other one is discharge permit, where government permits discharge of various pollutant. Business may legally discharge only if pollutant has a permit. So really the government says, okay, company, you can pollute this much. And of course it encourages reduction by selling the permit at a profit. And there's been situations that we do that, where the company, one company, to save money, will stop manufacturing a pollutant or discharge a pollutant, but then if they have the permit to have a certain amount to discharge, they can sell the amount that they did not use to another company. Again, thinking that this will encourage company to not pollute as much. Problems monitor the pollution sources. It is a market-oriented, and the permit is tradable. And really, in reality, it does not stop pollution. State and local regulation. The states regulate the degree to which the environment may be polluted. And the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because the federal government will tell the state of New Jersey, for example, how much pollutant can be discharged in the ocean, or how much pollutant can be emitted in the sky. And next thing you know, then New Jersey, being that has a certain amount, then distribute that amount among companies within the state of New Jersey. And many times, when the company then violates the amount and they become significant polluter, then the state of New Jersey is pleading the company, please don't do that, because then the federal government will make the state of New Jersey pay penalties for becoming significant polluter among the states and dumping in the ocean. And there's been lawsuits where Connecticut will be suing Long Island because the wind is blowing pollution in Connecticut, and then Connecticut state has to pay penalty to the federal government for polluting the air. In the same way with the water. Very, very interesting. And of course, the city and the county is the same responsibility to the state of New Jersey in top of the companies. There's local zoning laws, there is method of waste and garbage removal, there's location and condition of park and street and other public areas, like you cannot dump your garbage in another county or in another place of property. Very, very interesting. Federal regulation is the one that I really want you to become aware, just to let you know how complex this situation is. You have the Environmental Protection Agency, the Department of the Interior, you have the regulatory agency must take environmental factors into consideration when making significant decisions. And they are working all together to protect the environment. Then you have the National Environment Policy Act, which we call an NEPA, does not directly deal with the pollution control. They require preparation of an environmental impact statement when major federal action in the environment is to be undertaken. This environmental impact statement must analyze the impact of the proposed action, especially if there's going to be a new industry or a new chemical that's going to be prepared, and then any adverse effect on the action, alternative of the action, any irreversible effect, you know, how much is going to injured, and then how much is the injury impossible to care for or cure, or can we stop it? Can we stop this kind of effect on the people? Then you have the Clean Air Act, which is, this act provides the basis for issuing regulation to control pollution coming primarily from mobile sources and stationary sources. So every fan, everything that you have in the industries or in your town, municipal, they have to have a permit that makes sure that it works properly so that it does not pollute more than what you are allowed to pollute. That's why we have problem with the cars, and this is why the gasoline is so expensive, because of all the environmental rules and regulation that is imposed in importing gas or oil in our nation. Violations are up to $25,000 per day. Person who provides information about a person, that means you and I, citizens, neighbors. This is why many times corporations are very nice to their neighbors, because the neighbors then can see the corporation as a neighbor and not as a bad guy that is polluting our air. Maybe paid up to $10,000. Willful violation then carries criminal penalties. Therefore, a company can be liable both civilly and criminally. And this is where it's very interesting, because you know that the company does not mind to be civilly liable because they always can settle out of court. But criminal liability, that means somebody's going to jail. And I have to tell you that no president or vice president or upper management wants to go to jail. They don't mind dying for the corporation, but not go to jail for the corporation. Then we have the Clean Water Act goals, which is safe swimming, protection of fish and wildlife, and elimination of the discharge of pollutants into waterways. And you know, you hear that, especially when summer starts, they want to make sure the beach are clean for the people to swim, and also the sand. So pollution control is largely achieved through the use of the best available control technology. And if a company has a technology that does not work, and someplace else there is a technology that their pollutants stop from pollution, the company has a responsibility to acquire that technology. And there's been cases where the company argues that there is not such a technology that would stop polluting the air. And the court would say, which very active court, especially in the 70s, the reason why you don't have that technology to stop completely pollutant is because your company do not spend the money on research. You rather spend the money on advertisement and marketing instead of research. And this is why you don't have the technology to stop the pollutant. Very interesting reasoning. Then you have the drinking water. You have Ocean Dumping Act. You have wetlands, which is, you know, many times you cannot build, or if you're in a flood zone area. I find it whenever I do some real estate excuse me, whether it's commercial or residential, we have to do a research that the land, it's not on the flood zone. Noise Control Act. That's another one that's very interesting. Oops. Oh gosh. Sorry, I dropped. I think we better stop. I dropped this.